Okay, so good day to each and everyone. I am Tracy Hagorap, and today we will tackle about pragmatics. Okay, so I know that we all know about pragmatics. So pragmatics is the study of language used in context, including how meaning is affected by situations and speakers. So this branch of linguistics helps us to understand how language works beyond the literal meanings of words. So it focuses on the meaning that is derived not just from words but from the situation. So the speaker's intention, the relationship between the speakers and others nonverbal cues. So, for example, if I see, can you pass the salt? So I'm not asking if you are physically able to do so, but I am actually making a polite request. So that is one example of pragmatics. So this morning we will tackle what is pragmatics all about. So before that, we have here the backgrounds and concepts of pragmatics. So according to Charles Morris, the study of relation of sign and interpreters and the relation of signs to their users, while Rudolf Carnap say that the call the pragmatics the field of all those investigations which take into consideration the action, the state, and the environment of a man who speaks or hears or a linguistic sign. So in 1939, take the term pragmatic to cover the study of language use, in particular the study of linguistic communication. So in relation to language structure and context of adherence. So we have here the message model of communication. So the message model of communication, it is the also known as the code or the transmission model. So this model where the language is like a code, the speaker encodes a message and the listener decodes it. So how it works, the speaker has idea and the idea is encoded into words or sentences, and the message is transmitted either spoken or written. And the listener receives and decodes the message using the same linguistic code. But we have problems with this message model. So the first problem, since many expressions are linguistically ambiguous, the hearer must determine the possible meanings of words or expressions. It is the one of the speaker intended as operative on this occasion. So the second problem of this message model is does not account for the fact that the message often contains information about particular things being referred to, and such reference is rarely uniquely determined by the meaning of expressions. So the third message model represents a successful communication as expressions, but there this is not all there is to communication. So what is missing in this model so far is it is an account of the speaker's communicative intention, which is not in general uniquely determined by the linguistics or the meaning of the expression uttered, but it is part of the message communicated. The fourth problem is the message model does not account for the additional fact that we often speak non-literally that we may not mean for our words mean. So the fifth message is the message model does not account for the that we sometimes mean the communicate more than with what our sentences mean. So we sometimes speak indirectly. That is sometimes intend to perform what communicative act by means of performing another communicative act. So the six are the final problem that this message model is not communicating a message is not always the purpose of our remarks. And this model does not connect at all with other users. And we have here the inferential model of linguistic communication. So the inferential model, it is intentional model or the cognitive pragmatic model. So the communication is not just decoding a code unlike the message model. So the inferential, it is about the inferring meaning based on a context and speaker intention. So how it works. The speaker provide evidence, intends the listener infers to intends the meaning using the context or the background knowledge or the tune of what the speaker provided. So the difference between the message model and the inferential model is that the message model, it is the grammar or the grammar vocabulary or the literal comprehension. And it is develop the student's competence in reading between the line and understanding the using polite or intended expression. While the inferential model, it focused how meaning is constructed and interpreted through the inference. We have here the direct communication. So the direct from the word itself, direct, it is the unable to hear or the infer from the hears the speaker to utter what the speaker is directly communicating. So we have here the step one for the utterance act. The hearer recognizes what expression speaker has uttered. And the step two, it is the operative meaning. The hearer recognizes which meaning of the expression is intended to be operative in this occasion. So we have here the step three, the speaker reference. So the hearer recognizes what the speaker is referring to. We have here the step four, the direct hearer recognizes what the speaker is intending to communicate directly. So we have here the literal strategy. It enables the hearer into from what the speaker would be directly communicating. So if speaking literally to what the speakers literally are indirectly communicating. So in step five, we have here the contextual appropriateness. So the hearer recognizes what it would be contextually appropriate for the speaker to be speaking literally. While the step six, we have here the literal. Literal from the word itself, it is the hearer recognizes what the speaker is intending communicate literally and or directly. So we have here the non-literal communication. So the non-literal communication, it occurs when the speaker saying something but means something else or relying on the listener to infer the true meaning from content, from the context, the tone, or the shared knowledge. So we have here the non-literal communication is the overstatement or an overstatement, it is the using the exaggerated language for emphasis, not meant to be taken literally. So example, I've told you million times. So meaning, I told you many times, not literally a million, right? So we have here the irony. So the irony, it is saying the opposite of what is meant or offensively. So it relies on the listener recognizing a contrast between expectations and reality. So example of irony is when it's raining heavily. So what lovely weather. We have to say, oh, what a lovely weather we're having. The meaning, the weather is terrible because it is raining heavily. And then we have here the sarcasm. So it is a harsher, more mocking form of irony, often used to insult or ridicule. So example of sarcasm is after someone makes an obvious mistake, we will say, well done, good job. So making that was a bad mistake. So that is sarcasm. While the synecdoche, it is a figure of speech where this part where a part represents a whole or the whole represents a part. So example is all hands on deck. So meaning all people, not just our hands, are needed. So the purpose it is poetic imagery. While the metaphor it is the direct comparison where one thing is described as another to suggest and shared the quality without using the like or as. So example of metaphor is example of metaphor is we would say that time is a thief. Why? Because the time takes things from us like a thief does. Well, we have here the exaggeration. So the exaggeration, it is the essentially the same as overstatement. So it used to intensify the meaning for effect, not meant to deceive. So example of exaggeration is, oh, I'm starving, meaning I'm very hungry, not literally dying from starvation. So that is the exaggeration. So we have here the Proverbs. So the Proverbs, it is the traditional saying that having a fixed general centennial form, alluding to a common truth or general wisdom with some literary value or used to guide actions, so explain a situation or induce a feeling or attitude. So we have here the example of Proverbs. So example of Proverbs, example we say that action speaks louder than words is one example of Proverbs. So what this means, so action speaks louder than words, it means that what people do is more important than what they say, right? Or else we say that don't count your chickens before they hatch. So this proverb means that don't assume something will happen before it actually does. So that is one example of proverbs. Actually, there are lots of proverbs that we can hear or use to express our what we want to say. So after all, we move to the discourse and conversation. So it is the language and discourse and conversation, the language and context. So we have here the openings. Because the openings, this is the beginning, of course, opening or the beginning of conversation, manage politeness and prepare for the main topic. So we have here the casual opening. So the casual opening, it is used with friends, peers, or in relaxed environment like texting, social media, or casual conversation. So we are I use these words like hello, good morning, ahoy. So that is one example of the casual opening before we go to our main topic. So aside from casual, we have here the informal. So the informal opening, it is what's like example the what's up, hi, go ahead. So it is we use in daily conversation. While the formal opening, it is example the good day, Mrs. Smith. So it is used in a professional or academic or a ceremonial setting. So when speaking to superiors in official writing or with the people you don't know. So of course we should have some respect. So we have here some example of formal phrases or the formal opening example if we are writing a application letter or a letter to our professor is good day, Mrs. Smith, or good morning, sir, madam. And we also say that it's pleasure to meet you. Allow me to introduce myself. I hope this message finds you well. And example, if you are having a speech, in speeches, we would say that, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, so that phrases is one example of a formal openings, our formal opening before we move to our main topic. So let's move to the turn taking. So the turn taking, it is the process by which people in conversation take turns speaking. So it helps to maintain order, avoid interruptions, and manage interaction flow. So the turn taking, we have, yeah, the example of turn taking is, we have here the signals are used to take or yell a turn. So it is an overlap and occur but is usually managed or repaired. So we have here the closing. So the closing, it is refers to how the speaker signal that a conversation or interaction is coming to an end. So we have here example of closing. We have here the, for the casual, we have here bye, take care, thanks. For example, in our phone call, we have to end our uh, discussion, or we have to end our call. We should say, okay, sure, bye. Okay, talk to you soon. That's example of the closing, how we close our main topic. Well, the conclusion, it refers to an ending, a structured talk or presentation or written text, often summarizing the main points. So the conclusion in speech, we have here the example. Okay, so to conclude our topic, it is example is urgent or challenge. We must act now as, oh, example we have here, to conclude, our climate change remains the most urgent challenge of our time. So we must act now collectively and decisively. So the example of the conclusion, it is to end our formal talk, while the closing, it is end our casual conversation. The turn taking, it is the manage who speaks win, right? So next we have here is our special topics, the performatives, the speech acts, and the three levels of speech acts. So we have here the, in performatives, you have here the sentences or expressions in which the act of the speaking itself accomplishes an action. So rather than merely describing it. So in speech art acts, we have any utterance that serves a function in communication when we speak or doing things or words. So I have here the three level of speech acts. The locutionary act, it is the actual saying or something, while the elocutionary is the intended function of the statement of what we're doing with it. While the perlocutionary act, it affects the utterances on the listener. So we have here the meaning, the saying, and the implicating. So the meaning, it is a general term for what a linguistic or expression communicates. While the saying, it refers to the literal content of what the speaker expressed or what explicitly said according to grammar and vocabulary. While the implicating, when the speaker implies something without directly stating the listeners. The listener must infer this meaning from context, the shared knowledge, and conversational norms. So we have here the impliciture, or the implicitor and the new Gratian pragmatics. So the implicitor, it refers to the implicit content that fills in or expand what is said, or based on content, but it is not logically entailed or pragmatic required. So the implicature, it is when the speaker implies something without saying it directly. So the listener has to infer the intended meaning based on context, shared knowledge, or a conversational norms. So example of impli implicit implicature implicature is the example is, are you coming to the party tonight? Or I have to work early tomorrow. So the literal meaning is, uh, for the I have to work early tomorrow, the literal meaning is, probably won't go to the I didn't say no, but I implied it. So I didn't say that I will not go to work, but I implied that I have to go work early tomorrow. Well, the neo-Grecian theory, it refers to the developments in philosophy of language and pragmatics that build on a revised H.P. Grice's original theory of conversational implicature. So the neo-Grecian theory, it is developed by Lawrence Horn and Stephen Levinson, and it refines the Grice's ideas using generalized conversational implicature and smaller set of principal heuristics. So we have the two main approaches in neo-Grecian theory. It is the Q principle. One is the Q principle or the quantity based. So we could say that say as much as you can, or example of neogression, we could say that say as much as you can, or give all your knowledge based on new Gratian, let us be informative. So the new Gratian, it is aims to refine, reduce, reorganize Grice maxim to better account to a wider range of linguistics or phenomena and to align more closely with actual language use. All right, so that's end my slides for the pragmatics. But before that, let's sum up all the statements about the pragmatics. And in conclusion, the pragmatics, it is a vital branch of linguistics that goes beyond the literal meanings of words to explore how context, intention, social norms shapes communication. So through concepts and like implicature, speech acts, uh, pragmatics reveals how meaning is constructed in real life interactions. So whether through indirect requests, non-literal expressions, or culturally guided assumptions. So pragmatics competence allows speaker to communicate effectively and appropriately. So understanding pragmatics is not only key to mastering language, but also understanding a human behavior, relationship, and society itself. Okay, so that's end of my topic. I hope you learn something, and thank you for listening and enjoy and have a good day. Bye.